Hello everyone, in this video I want to talk about how to improve your aim on Star Wars Battlefront 2, and honestly this would be beneficial to any video game, but I'll just talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2. And this first tip that I'm going to give you is strictly for PC gamers. It's not going to be as beneficial for console players because you don't have as much control, but if you're a PC player, the first thing I would suggest is upgrade your mouse so that you have a mouse that can change the sensitivity right on the hardware itself. So on my mouse I've got a button that I can change the DPI setting, and then my mouse will either move slower or faster depending on what level of sensitivity I'm on. So right now I'm on 400 DPI, it's the lowest sensitivity level, and this is how fast my mouse moves just at a regular pace. And of course I can increase that if I throw my mouse around, but if I increase the setting up one level, see how much faster that is, and I'm not even trying, and then I'll go to level 3 and then level 4, and this one's ridiculous. I'm not even moving my mouse, like barely, and it's just jetting across the screen. It's ridiculous. Anyways, I'm gonna go back down to 400 DPI. If you don't have a good mouse, then you go to the zoom sensitivity right here, and I would suggest lowering that to like maybe what, 10%, and it's going to be ridiculous for you right away when you're using a mouse. But if you can get used to the low zoomed sensitivity, it's gonna do wonders for you. And that's just for aiming down your sights for the zoom sensitivity. You also have this soldier sensitivity, vehicle sensitivity, and starfighter sensitivity. So you've got these three extra sensitivities. I would also lower those down to 10%. The soldier sensitivity, when you're running around, you have the hip fire mode essentially, and that's going to be your way of aiming, right? So you also are going to want this extra low sensitivity. You want all three of these to be very low so you have a ton of control. That's if you really want to improve your aim, but you've got to get used to being able to move super slow. But if you get used to dragging your mouse around, then you can move fast also. It's what a lot of pro players do, and also a lot of big streamers do. So like Shroud, for example, he has a super low mouse sensitivity, and what he does is he has a ginormous mouse pad, and he'll pick up his mouse and move his cursor around very quickly. 4 more things that I want to talk about aside from the aiming sensitivity. The first thing being always aim for the head, no matter what. Even if your aim sucks right now and you're missing all of your shots, just keep aiming for the head no matter what. Practice that over and over and over again, aiming for only the head. Don't aim for the body, only try to hit the head, because the more you practice that, the better your aim's gonna get at just hitting headshots. That's how pro players are so good at hitting headshots, is because they practice only hitting the headshot. They focus on just hitting that. They don't care about hitting the body shots because their focus is to take down enemies extremely fast by hitting those headshots. The second thing to note is that you should not hesitate when you're about to take your shot. Whatever crosshair you're using, whether you're at the hip fire, I've got the hip fire crosshair, or if you're actually aiming down your sights with, like, for example, a sniper specialist scope, the best thing you can do is as soon as your crosshair lands on the enemy, just start firing. Even if you miss, that's okay, because remember, this is all practice to make you better. You want to get used to shooting your gun as soon as the crosshair lands on the opponent. This can be especially shown with the specialist. And no, I may not hit my shots, but if I do, however, I get a headshot, right? And I'm not hesitating. So whereas, like, say you go like this and you're trying to line up your shot just right, you might not fire. And if you don't fire, sometimes the enemy's gonna die to one of your teammates, or they're gonna run behind cover. You won't get your chance to actually take that enemy down. So as soon as you see that enemy, just pull the trigger. Even if you don't get the headshot, or even if you don't get the body shot, if you just completely miss, just pull the trigger and keep doing that over and over again. It doesn't matter if you miss your shots, it's all practice. Even when you get good, it's all practice to make you better. You're just constantly trying to improve yourself. And same goes for the assault or heavy or officer or any of the upgraded troops. Fire as soon as your crosshairs land on the enemy. The third thing that I want to talk about is being as upfront in the enemy's face as possible. You want as much action as you can get so that you can keep on practicing your aim. The more you sit around and you're not firing at an enemy, the less practice you're gonna get. If you're a sniper, yeah, you can sit back a little bit, but always make sure you got opponents in front of you throughout the whole match. Always be fighting. Don't camp, because you want to improve your aim, right? Try to get in the enemy's face. Make sure you're always in some type of fight, because the more scenarios you're in while aiming down your sights or firing your gun in like a hip fire form, whatever it may be, the more scenarios you can put yourself in while shooting your gun and practicing your aim, the better, because your aim's just going to constantly be improving, and you're going to learn different scenarios of how to aim your weapon. Like if an opponent is rolling away from you or towards you, whether or not they're jumping up and down, if they're running away or towards you, if you're getting shot while you're aiming, all that stuff. Just keep on getting up in the action. Even if it means you're going to die a bunch of times, that's okay. Just practice it over and over again, getting in the fire, getting in the enemy's face. Which leads us into the fourth point. You want to practice over and over again, and you've probably heard this 1,000 times, but that's okay. I'm going to tell you again. Practicing is simply the best way to improve your aim after you have certain things that you're going to practice, that is. So once you know what you're going to practice, you've got to do it over and over again. Even when it starts to suck and you start to feel like, man, this just isn't very fun. That's the most important time to practice, is when you're feeling kind of like bored of practicing. Because if you can practice through the sucky time, then that means you're growing. You're experiencing growing pains. So you're going to start getting better if you continue to practice through those sucky moments. And when you do that and you make it through those sucky moments and you keep on practicing through them, eventually you're going to start to get good and you'll start to see results. And one more point added onto the practicing thing. If you want less of a challenge right from the start, and say it's a little bit too difficult for you to practice in multiplayer mode, just play in co-op mode first. Co-op mode is excellent. The opponents are fairly tough. They're not too difficult, but it's a fairly tough challenge. It's consistently fun, and it's just a great place to get some base practice. Once you feel like you've mastered co-op mode, then I would recommend moving on to multiplayer mode, because in multiplayer mode you're playing with a bunch of random players that move in all sorts of random ways. It's really hard to predict how an opponent is going to play if you're playing in a multiplayer match. And then just keep on practicing, like I said, over and over again. Get that repetition in, and eventually your aim will start to get better. I know that for certain, because that's exactly what I did. That's all I've got for you in this video. If you have any questions or requests, please post them in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.